So here is the transaxle from my 1975 Sears Suburban garden tractor. As you can see, I've already popped it in half. I'm getting ready to lock it so it drives both tires and runs posi all the time. There is the model number for this particular transaxle. It's a Peerless 633A38. You can see I've got this thing sitting so the pulley, the input pulley side is down, and the top cover is actually the same side that houses the brake assembly. And here's what we get once we get inside of the transmission. This is some seriously heavy duty stuff. But yeah, everything works pretty good. Everything looks great. There's very little wear on any of the gears. But looking at this gear set here in the back, it's not your typical spider gear setup, is it? It's a very bizarre way to set up a transaxle, but it works. And these things are really powerful, so I'm gonna have to change my approach, how I usually lock these things. There's no bevel cut spider gears in this transaxle. It's almost like a planetary gear set, so yeah, I'll be coming up with something a little different. I think what I'm gonna do here to get this thing to lock up is actually weld the outside edges of these planetary spider gear things right rock solid together. Obviously I'll remove them to do this, but it still makes it so these little gears are removable. So if I ever decided to undo this, I could take those out. I think that's what we're going to go ahead and do, and we will have a locked transaxle. Alright, because I have to tack weld this spider gear, planetary gear thing, assembly, whatever you want to call it, here in the transaxle case, you can see I've got the whole thing wrapped in denim jeans. You can barely see my spider gears in there, because that's the only little spot that I need to tack weld, and I've got everything blocked right off with the jeans. And then I went ahead and went over all the jeans with my water bottle and dampened them. Don't soak them, but dampen them so they don't catch fire, and just make a hot, quick little tack weld. I'm going to flip it around to the other side and then take it all apart. It was a neat little fire. Huh, cool. Right, she's pulled apart. You saw her come apart. There's my little locker with my little tack weld and the two axles, which this top one is actually just balancing there. Might want to get rid of that. But there's the other little locker set right there. The bowl gear fell down. Nuts, bolts, and sleeves, which actually some of them fell in the dirt, but we'll clean them off with the B12 chem tool. Alright, these things are all welded up and ready to be reinstalled. And done. This sucker is locked. Alright guys, so it's been about 2, maybe 3 weeks since I started this transmission locking project. And it's not exactly because I haven't had time or the ambition to work on this thing. I was actually waiting on new seals. I replaced the axle seals on both case halves. There's a new one there and a new one down there. Here are the old ones. I popped these out. They weren't necessarily bad or leaking. I just decided to replace them because I had the whole transaxle apart, so I figured now is a better time than later when they start leaking oil out or letting water in. I still have to replace that seal there, so I'll show you guys real quick how I replace these seals. It's pretty simple. Over here you can see I've got 2 more seals. One is for the brakes shaft that protrudes through the case. The other is for the transaxle input pulley, which I'm not even sure I'm going to use that one because I don't really want to pull the pulley off unless I have to. I got a new case gasket right here that's going to go on, and this does actually need to be modified to fit. You have to cut this upper part out for the shifter to drop down in, and this is the new shifter gasket. Alright, so to pull these seals, any of these seals, it's actually pretty simple. If you don't have a seal puller, I use what is basically a bent screwdriver. I have a few of these because of my aggression issues. But you're basically going to slide it in under the seal. You want to be careful because there are needle bearings in there. You can see the tips of them. So you got to be very careful to not destroy those. But you just get underneath this seal here like that. Got the handle and just pop it out. Of course, this is easier with two hands, and I don't have a tripod with me right now, so I'm just going to whack it. And there you go. That seal is out. First thing you want to make sure before you put it back in is that this seat where the seal actually goes in is really clean and free of any dirt, grime, or contaminants, because anything that's in there is going to cause a leak, or it might cause the seal to not actually sit in there properly. Another good idea is to actually oil the edges of the seal so you can press it in there a lot easier. But I'll show you my little trick to driving these in really easily without any problems. Alright, so I got it all cleaned out. I used a little bit of brake clean and paper towels and got her nice and shiny, so there's nothing in there anymore. I also went ahead and oiled the edges of my seal so I can get in there nice and flush. And the trick here is you want to get this seal set in not like that. That is very, very bad. You want to get this thing as straight as possible. It's obviously not going to just push in with your hand, or else it wouldn't seal anything. But get it in there so it's kind of jammed in sort of square. What you're going to want to do is find yourself a socket. And right here I've got a socket. This is actually a 7/8 socket. It really doesn't matter the size. Well, it kind of matters the size. What you want the socket to do is be almost as wide as the seal. And what you do is you hammer on the top of this socket, and it forces the seal down evenly into the hole. So you can tell right when it seats, all of a sudden the sound changes. And voila! New seal is in place, so there won't be any oil leaking out or water leaking in. Alright, so now that I got this thing all resealed and ready to go, I actually got to go through and clean both case halves with some carbon choke cleaner. Just make sure you get all the grit and grime out of here. It's really important, or else some of this shit will get into your gears, and it'll create some pretty serious problems for you down the road. So take your time, make sure you get it clean, and let it dry before you reassemble it. After you get it cleaned out, you want to put it somewhere to dry and make sure your gasket mating surfaces are ultra clean. Like, you want to be able to eat off these friggin' things. The other thing you want to check and make sure, specifically on this transaxle, is these little oil galleys. You see these little notches taken out of all these machine surfaces? That is the only way for these internal needle bearings to get any sort of lubrication. And when I pulled this thing apart, there were little chunks of shit stuck in these galleys, getting plugged up with sludge and whatnot. So it's really important to clean those out, or you'll have a seized bearing in no time. But right now I'm just going to let this dry. I'm going to go take a break, maybe have a beer, and chill out for a minute. Come back out here in a few more minutes and start sealing this bad boy up now that it's ready to go, and hopefully I can get it back into the chassis tonight. We'll see. Ah, yes, much better. Beer is down the hatch, and we are continuing on the transaxle. I've got it pretty much ready to go back together. I have to have this giant bowl gear drive out of the case, and you have to have this high-low range pulled up and kind of pushed over to get the axle back in here. So you got the axle and bowl gear here, and one thing you want to do to protect your new seals that you just installed, if you just installed, or, well, this is good practice to be in anyways, just so you keep your seals good, is squirt a little bit of oil there on your axle shaft and, you know, give her the old motion. This might be really familiar to a lot of you, so drop that sucker down in the hole. Be really careful to try to line it up as you go. Oh, gotta get it further out of the way. There we go. Gotta get the high-low range back in. Another thing to make sure is all these gears have washers on them. And you gotta make sure that these washers, which are very difficult to see, but they are there, are all in place. There's one on like every shaft. So if they fall off, make sure all your shafts are equipped with these washers, or else more bad things will happen. Alright, now that we're all pretty much reassembled, I'm just gonna drizzle some oil all over these shaft ends so everything goes back together that much easier. Make sure you get all the oil off the gasket mating surfaces if you do get any on there. And our gasket, which I have to cut and modify this section, but I think I'll do that once everything is back together, so I don't screw it up, because I only got one chance at this. Make sure to oil up this axle shaft as well. Same reason you did the other one. It may not seem important, but it'll save your seals, trust me. Alright, this little guy, looking at this case half, it's got a machine surface right here on either side, so I gotta make sure this one goes front to back, so I need to have this top to bottom, this little forked washer. I don't know why it's like that, but it is, so I'm gonna make sure that it goes in correctly. And well, it looks like we're ready to put this thing back together. Let's hope this just goes easy. It never does, but then again, I never work on these transaxles, so this is a first for me. And here I am making a how-to video. What is the world coming to, YouTube? You got amateurs making how-to videos on things and posting them online, and people thinking that's exactly how it goes. But the truth is, we don't have any idea what we're doing. Make sure the gasket's lined up with all your holes. Make sure you see the gasket all the way around this transaxle, because if one of these edges pushes in and you don't realize it and you bolt this thing all back together and fill it with oil, it's just going to piss it out as fast as you're putting it in. So, you know, take your time and make sure you do this right, or you're going to be doing it again. I'm torquing these down to about 15 foot-pounds. I don't know what it's actually supposed to be at for a torque value, but I think a lot of times you'll find that it's actually more important to be consistent with your torque values, like making sure you get all of them to 15 pounds, rather than being really inconsistent and having them all different torques, because then you'll cause, you know, the case to warp, stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, I don't know the actual value of the torque spec here. I'm going 15 pounds because that's about what it felt like when I removed them. I should have checked them, but I didn't. So yeah, that's it. Alright, so I got the transmission flipped down. This is how it would be sitting if it was installed. And I've got it locked into gear, and as I spin this, you can see it spins really easily like it used to. So if you reassemble and this pulley is really hard to spin, or these axle shafts are really hard to spin, take it back apart, make sure you don't have washers doubled up or something somewhere. But as you can see, well actually you can't see, but I can see, both axles are turning in the same direction, and I can't stop this one, so obviously it's locked. As of how long this thing will hold up locked, I'm not really sure. I plan on putting 25-inch Swamp Light tires for an ATV on the back of this particular garden tractor and taking it off-road with a slight pulley swap, so you'll find out soon enough as to how well this locker setup holds up. But that's pretty much going to do it for this video. We got her locked and ready to go. I can't put the shifter back in until I reinstall it into the tractor, so it's kind of pointless to do that as of right now. But yeah, if you want to see how this thing holds up in the future, make sure you hit the subscribe button and hang around and wait to see when I drop this thing into a mud hole if she just explodes or if she just absolutely loves it. But that's going to do it for this video, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.